Welcome to Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. We are located at the Utah Motorsport campus, offering a full range of services for race car enthusiasts, including storage, maintenance, and driver coaching. Our focus is on fostering an inclusive and supportive racing community. Sim racing is a great way for our drivers to continue to practice during the on and off season. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the race.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Race 2 of Season 7 of the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. This race is happening at Sebring International Raceway in Florida. It is one of the longest-running purpose-built racetracks in the United States. It has hosted everything from, well, just about everything. And tonight it is hosting the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. The format is very different this season than in the past. What we are doing this year is a sprint race that sets the grid for a 45-minute finale main event. And it gets even more exciting than that because the finishing order of the sprint race dictates the qualifying order for the main event, but we flip it on its head. So there's a reverse grid for the main event because, you know, as if these races aren't exciting enough, we decided to make it even more exciting. So the fastest drivers are going to have to start at the back of the field and make their way all the way up to the front if they want to win. So I think we can expect a lot of excitement in this race. If anyone was able to watch the Long Beach race that happened in race 1, you know how exciting these races are. All the cars are GT3 cars. There are a number of different options. Porsche is the most popular field in the class, but tonight we do have Ferraris, we have Lamborghinis, and we have BMWs being represented as well. Currently, we are in the formation lap for the sprint race. Before the sprint race, there was a 1-hour practice, and the fastest time that the drivers set in the practice was how they qualified. So Jack Liston put in the fastest time of the 1-hour practice session with a 2-minute .416, followed by Bryson Liu in P2, Paulo in P3, Andrews in P4, George in P5, Miller P6, and let's see, Michael Shumway, P7, Kelly P8, Carter P9, Shane was in 10th, Mike in 11th, Alex Faust in 12th. And it looks like Spencer is in 13th, but he's not highlighted. I wonder if he's starting the race or not. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be in this race, but he did qualify in 13th. And then last on the grid is Logan, and you'll see my name there in P15. That is just so I can watch along with all of you at home. And you can see the track conditions are very foggy, and there is a chance of rain. So if it starts to rain, we can add a whole other layer of mayhem. So the pace car is pulling into the pits. Jack Liston is controlling the field, and we are about to go green at Sebring Raceway, and green flag flies. Jack Liston moves over to cover Bryson Liu. He is going to have sole possession of first going into turn 1, and Paulo is, I think he's going to steal second from Bryson. No, Bryson's going to answer back. They are side by side going through the first bit of corners and trying to see who comes out on top. It looks like Paulo's going to get ahead of Bryson, and Bryson's dropping back in the pack, so I don't know what happened to Bryson, but it's now Paulo, Andrew, George, Michael, and Bryson all the way down to P6 from P2. So early drama in the sprint race here, but Jack Liston is staying out of all of that mess, and he's already walking away from the field. You can see he's already building himself a fairly substantial gap, and Andrew Malin is up into P3. Paulo in P2. This is awesome stuff already. And the visibility, you can see that the fog is starting to settle at the racetrack. When that fog settles, it's going to make the drivers harder to see where they're going. Visibility is obviously an incredibly important part of driving a race car. And when you have poor visibility, everything changes. Everything gets more complicated. And this track is very tricky because there are a lot of bumps to it. And there's a lot of subtlety to putting the car in the right place to maintain grip levels and get around the track as quickly as possible. So even losing just a touch of visibility can have a big, big difference on your lap times. We were just on board with Andrew Malin. Exactly how poor the visibility is. And if it starts to rain, it's not going to get any better. And the sun is setting, so they're going to have to rely on their headlights as this sprint race moves on. Jack Liston has already pulled a 1.7-second gap back to Paulo and Andrew Malin. Andrew, looks like Paulo's actually pulling a gap as well. So Andrew Malin is getting pressured from George, which is awesome. George is a very, very quick driver, although a lot of the drivers in this field are incredibly talented. Obviously, you have some drivers that are faster than other, but the cluster of talent is very, very tight in this group. There's any driver can make advancements. As we're seeing right here, George is trying to make inroads on Andrew Malin. He's, diving to the inside, trying to stay as close as he can to Andrew, seeing where he can put a move on. It's early in the race. This is only a 15-minute sprint race, and there's 12 minutes and 30 seconds left, so he doesn't have a ton of time, but he can afford right now to sit back a little bit and try to plan where he's going to make his attack. And another person who I anticipate is going to move forward is Bryson Liu. Bryson's incredibly quick. Obviously, something happened the first lap. He got shuffled all the way back to P6, but he's got, podium pace no matter where he goes. He is one of the quicker drivers in the entire field. So him sitting back in P5, there's a good chance that he is going to be able to put a lot of pressure on George and Andrew and see how far he can make it up the field. And Michael Shumway is just behind Bryson and George, and Miller is just behind Michael Shumway. What an incredibly tight pack of very, very talented drivers early in the race. We are just barely 4.5 minutes into the race, and we've already seen a decent amount of passes. As George gets by. Oh, George gets by. No, sorry. I thought George was getting by Andrew, but that is the battle between George and Bryson. Look at this group. Everyone is staying nose to tail. Bryson is just behind George, and Miller is just behind Michael. We are potentially going to see a lot of battles in this top 10 group right here. This is awesome stuff, and it's such a good racetrack. One thing that's interesting about Sebring International Raceway is certain parts of the racetrack look like a purpose-built circuit, and some parts of the racetrack, like the one we're on right here, they look a little bit more almost like a street course, like an afterthought, and that's for a very good reason. Sebring was originally a World War II military airport base, airstrip, and then it became a racetrack. So what you're seeing here is the racetrack part of the racetrack that they built for racing, but the other section, mainly the Ullman Straight and coming down the start-finish line, those are old runways. So that's why, you can look at it and say, well, it doesn't really look like a purpose-built racetrack. And that's the reason why, because originally it wasn't. We're watching Carter right now in the Lamborghini, the Huracan GT3 EVO. He's got one of the coolest, or the Evo. He's got one of the coolest liveries out there. He's a quick driver as well. He is someone who sometimes looks like he has mid-pack pace, and then randomly will just find another gear. And he will, every once in a while, just be able to absolutely, pull away from the entire field. He's being chased right now by Kelly in the Martini and Rossi livery. That's one of the cooler liveries and one of the more storied racing sponsors in the history of motorsports. Martini and Rossi, they've sponsored Formula One, they've sponsored rally cars, they've sponsored a lot of road racing, so love seeing that livery out there. And we're on board with Kelly right now as they go through turn number 15, and they're going to head around turn number 16, heading onto the Ullman Straight, the longest straightaway on the racetrack. And Kelly is going to try to pull away from Mike enough where Mike doesn't get advantage of the slipstream, and it looks like he's going to be able to get it done. So things are starting to stabilize right here. There's 8 minutes and 55 seconds left in the race. We're not quite at half distance yet, and I don't think a lot of people are necessarily going to try to get overly aggressive in the sprint race because, obviously you want to win a race, but at the same time, you want to get the points. There are points up on offer in the sprint race, so it's a little bit different. In the sprint race, there are 30 points. up to 30 points being offered. So the winner gets 30 points, and then it makes its way down in 5-point increments. And then in the main event, there's 70 points. So you don't want to obviously risk something happening, by being overly aggressive and potentially dropping out of those points. But at the same time, if you do finish in the back of the pack, it just means you're going to start up front in the main because, obviously it's a reverse starting grid. So, there might be some strategy there. We'll see if some drivers decide to be very aggressive in the closing stages and other drivers decide to be a little bit more conservative. Bryson Lou's taking a stab down the inside on George and is not going to get it done. Oh, good late braking from George and good respectful driving from both of those drivers. They aren't making contact with one another, which is huge. One of the other big changes that happened in Season 7 of the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League is the damage is turned off. So no matter how hard these drivers slam into a wall or slam into one another, the car will not get damaged. I think that will produce a lot of over-aggressive driving, but it's not, because in lieu of damage, what's happening is we are going to get incident points, and there are penalties awarded when you reach a certain number of incident points. So if you just go off track, typically you get 1 incident point. If you make contact with another driver, typically it's 4 incident points. And if you accrue a total of 17 incident points in a race, you have a drive-through penalty. So that is how the racing is getting officiated moving forward. And what that does allow is for people to stay in the race as, stuff happens, right? Sometimes you hit walls. And instead of having to go back into the pits and maybe you have to wait for 2 or 3 minutes for repairs to be made, you can get back out on track. So that's another way that we can keep the racing here at the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League incredibly exciting. And speaking of exciting, right now, Michael Shumway is all over the back of Miller's Lamborghini, and he is looking to make a pass. Miller is very, very quick. We don't see him in a lot of races, and he is an R2, he's an R3 level driver. But that's not because he's slow at all. He's actually incredibly quick. He just doesn't have an opportunity to do a lot of the races. Now, you'll notice on screen next to the people's names, you have R1, R2, and R3. And that is a race within a race. This is multi-class racing that you're watching here with 5 minutes and 50 seconds left in the sprint race. Everyone is in the exact same equipment. Everybody gets the same points based on how they finish. But there's a second race. So the R2 championship, the R3 championship, and the R1 championship are an accumulation of all the points that you've won over the course of the season. And they've done that, again, to keep it spicy, right? So you have someone that's an R2 driver that is fighting for a championship, even if they might be in P7 or P8 or P9. And the other exciting thing about it is if you win your championship and you surpass other drivers in the class ahead, there is a potential that you are going to get bumped up into the R1 class. Or if you're an R3, you could get bumped up into R2. So there's a lot on the line for these drivers all the way up and down the grid. And Kelly is getting hassled right now by Shane in the AO Motorsports Rexy liveried Porsche 992 GT3 car. Shane's going to take a dip down the inside. And again, Kelly, a lot of grip on the outside. Kelly runs it wide, keeps his momentum up. They are side by side going through the Sunset Bend and side by side going down the start-finish line with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. Kelly is going to have the inside line going into turn one. Is Shane going to try to hang it out on the outside? Yes, he is. Oh, he's going to try to hang it out on the outside. No, he's not going to be able to get it done. Is he going to try to switch back? Potentially here. Oh, he dives to the inside, late on the brakes. Side by side again between Kelly and Shane. Martini and Rossi versus AO Motorsports. Oh, such exciting stuff. And Kelly wins that battle, that long battle. That was like 4 corners of side-by-side racing. What that does is that lets Alex Faust in the BMW M4 GT3 car to join the party. So we might have a 3-way battle for, this would be for P9, but it would be for the top spot in the R2 class. And Shane is going to dive down the outside. He's going to get it passed on Kelly. Is Alex going to be able to do anything with it? Kelly looks like he is squarely in P9. 10. Is he going to have an answer for Shane in the Rexy liveried AO Motorsports? I love these liveries. You have 3 actual liveries right now, all battling each other. You have 2 different manufacturers. And looking here, we're going to go up the field a little bit to George, who is in P6, and he was in P4. So Bryson and Miller have made their way around George. And like I said earlier, Bryson is wicked fast. He is an unbelievably talented driver in real life as well as in the sim. And he is climbing his way back up into the field. Qualified in P2, dropped down to P6, and now is in P4. And Miller makes his way through as well. Miller is, again, another incredibly quick driver. He is driving the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. That's an incredibly quick car. But there is something about what the drivers tell me is that the Lamborghini might be the quickest car in the field, but also one of the trickiest to drive. It will punish you if you go over the limit. So, a lot of these people driving the Lamborghinis in the sim racing league, they're kind of, they're dancing on the knife's edge. Now, one thing that has been consistent with the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League is that the cars are all fixed setup. What that means is everybody that's in the Porsche 992 has the exact same setup. I think the only thing that you can change is potentially brake bias, but other than that, they want to make sure that it's not a setup race. It's a driver's race, and that's what we're seeing right now. And what we're seeing right now is Jack Liston, who's got a 3-second lead that he's pulled out in the sprint race. In the first 13 minutes, we're in the closing stages, 1 minute and 47 seconds left, and Jack Liston has had a quiet race. And he's had a quiet race because he is very fast. So unless something happens in the closing stages of the race, Jack Liston is going to win. He's going to be awarded the 30 points, but for the main event, the 45-minute main event, he's going to have to start dead last, and he is going to have a ton of work to do to try to make his way back up to the front of the pack. But if there's anyone that's going to do it, I'm going to say Jack is going to be capable of doing that. So we have just over a minute left in the sprint race. Kelly Hatcher, we're just watching, and they've had a great battle in that sort of mid-pack the entire race. It's a great warm-up for the main event. I can't wait to see what's going to happen at the main event because it's going to be very, very spicy. You can't start the fast drivers in the back and not have a spicy race. So very much looking forward to it. Let's see, we have the sort of bumper cam of Miller right now. What a good shot. And this actually highlights how bumpy the racetrack is. Just got the white flag, 1 lap left to go. Trying to look down, looking at the intervals right now. It looks like the running order is fairly stable, and we'll see if anyone decides to get really spicy. Jack Liston has looks like he has looks like he has a fast lap this race. He's super quick. He's very consistent. He's one of the faster drivers in this sim racing league, and he is going to have his work cut out for him in the main event because it looks very much like he is going to start on the back row with Paulo. Good race from Paulo. Honestly, I love seeing this stuff. 1 lap left to go in the closing stages. And you can see how dark it's getting as well. I mean, it is very dark, and there is a chance of rain. And like I was saying in the beginning of the broadcast, visibility is wildly important when you're driving a car. I mean, think about, next time you're driving on a road, well, don't do this. I was going to say shut your eyes and see what that's like or just squint or something, but no, don't do that. Please don't, because it's very unsafe. But that's basically what these guys are going to be going through if it starts to rain, if it gets really foggy. Here's a good battle right here. This is Bryson trying to make his way up into third in the last lap. Just a couple quarters left to go, and Bryson is going to try to make his way around the outside of Andrew Malin. Andrew Malin is going to defend to the inside and is going to stay in front of Bryson through the final series of corners. There's one more corner left, and Bryson is all over Andrew Malin, who is going to take the third spot in the sprint race. Bryson's going to dive to the outside. Bryson is going to go deep on the brakes, but so is Andrew Malin. Oh, side by side. There is a lot of room around the outside of this corner, so Bryson should be able to keep his momentum up. But, I thought he was going to hit the wall there for a second, but it looks like Andrew is just barely going to get ahead of Bryson Liu. That was a really, really exciting final lap right there. So, sprint race results. It looks like, let's see, what do we have here? Jack Liston wins the sprint race, followed by Paulo in P2, Andrew Malin in P3, Bryson Liu in P4, Miller in 5th, George in 6th. So, what's going to happen now, Michael Shumway, P7, Mike in P8, Shane in 9th, Alex in 10th, Kelly in 11th, Logan in 12th, and Carter in 13th. So what's going to happen right now is they're going to go immediately to the grid for the 45-minute main event. And like I said, this is a reverse grid. So the people that finished last are starting up front. And I'm looking down the list here, and I think there are some people that might have potentially sandbagged ever so slightly in the sprint race to start a little bit further up in the main event. And honestly, I think that's a good strategy. You know, if you're not competing for a win, I wouldn't fight too hard if someone dives down the inside. I would want to go make sure I got a better start when there are more points up on offer. You know, there's 70 points in the main event. There's only 30 up for grabs in the sprint. So the drivers are just pulling off right now. They're behind the safety car. They're going to do one formation lap, warm up the tires if they feel the need to, and then the green flag will fly on race number 2 of the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League here at Sebring International Raceway. Now, the weather currently 78 degrees. They are expecting rain, and rain is going to turn everything even more on its head if the rain does fall, because depending on where you are on a racetrack and when you decide to pit for rain tires, I mean, if you get caught out and you get the timing wrong, you can lose 10, 12 seconds, 30 seconds sometimes, potentially. If the track gets wet and you're on slicks, it is almost impossible to make it around a racetrack with any kind of pace. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And going down the running order, let's see. The running order isn't reversed right now on screen, but it is reversed physically. And there's a shot of pit lane, and there's a driver still in pit lane. I can't tell. Michael Shumway. All right, Michael's in pit lane. Not entirely sure what's going on there. I don't know if he's having a connectivity issue, what the issue is, but that he's going to actually have to start in the back of the field. So he'll start behind Jack Liston. That is very, very unfortunate for Michael Shumway. What a bummer. I mean, I'm sure he's going to have fun trying to make his way through the field. All these guys are true racing drivers through and through. So everybody wants to win, but at the end of the day, a fun battle is always a lot of fun. So looks like Michael's got a lot of fun in his future trying to make his way through the field. And so something that I think is important to mention is that the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League is an online league. It happens once a week, and that's what we're watching right now. But Riot Motorsport is a real motorsports league. It's based out is a real motorsports team. It's based out of the Utah Motorsports campus, and a lot of these cars that you're seeing here in the Sim Racing League are cars that are very similar to what they have in their garages. And a lot of liveries as well are very similar to what some of these people drive in real life. Andrew Malin, for example, his car that you're seeing here in the Sim Racing League looks very much like his car and like Michael Shumway's car that you would see if you went to the Utah Motorsports campus and saw them out on track. So we have, let's see, where are we on track right now? Just coming around towards the Ullman Straight. They're going to head down the straightaway, get whatever heat they feel they need to get into their tires before turning around Sunset Bend. And then the pace car is going to pull in, and we will be off and running on a 45-minute main event. You'll see on screen that Jack Liston and Paolo are P1, but we reversed the grid. So the two people that are physically up front are actually Carter in the gray and white camo Lamborghini, and Logan in the green and black Riot Motorsport liveried Porsche 992. And pace car is pulling in, and we are about to go green. And we are green. All the cars, fantastic. out as they head towards turn 1. 5 and 6 wide. Look at this. Oh, what exciting racing. Around the left-hander, 3 wide. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, what was that? That was Mike. That was Mike that lost control, lost it going into turn 1 on cold tires and collected a whole bunch of other drivers. Let's get a replay here if we can. Let's see, going back, a bunch of drivers got collected. That's not good. I didn't see anyone really make contact. That might have just been a spin on his own. We're going to keep an eye on Mike in that white 992, the Kraken liveried 992. And let's see, going in slow motion through here. Is Alex going to make contact with him? Ooh, it's hard to tell. Oh, I think that might have been George and Alex coming together. So it was George, Alex, and Mike. All got collected. Andrew had nowhere to go. He gets caught up in that as well. Does Kelly make it through? Yeah, it looks like Kelly's able to hit the brakes and make it through, but a number of drivers get collected. Oh, nope, never mind. Yep, Kelly gets tagged there at the end. Ooh, Alex crosses the track, does a little bit of rallycross, and he makes his way back on track. Woo, that was a big, spicy first turn incident. Wow. I mean, it's a typical thing where at the starts, particularly a track like Sebring, where there's so much room, you can run 3, 4, 5 cars wide, and you can run, 2 or 3 cars wide going into turn 1, but not 4. And I think that's kind of what we saw. I think we saw just, how do I say this? 10 pounds of race car going into a 5-pound bag. Let's say that. But we continue, and who's the big winner with that? Is Shane? Where did Shane start? Is Miller? Where did Miller start? Miller is up in the lead, so it looks like Miller and Shane were the big benefactors of the crash on turn 1. And as I said, there is no damage in this race, so all those drivers are able to just continue. The only penalty they get are the incident points, and then obviously the time it takes for them to turn around. But Miller is on one. He's already pulling a gap on Shane. Miller is super, super fast. Again, he's Miller is an R3 level driver. He's in the R3 class, but that in no way is indicative of his pace. He is fast, and you can see it right here. Shane in Rexy is trying to do his best to keep Bryson Liu behind him, but again, Bryson Liu is another very quick driver, and Bryson's he's very intelligent as a racing driver. He knows how to make passes. Some people have a lot of pace, but they aren't very crafty as far as getting by people. That's not Bryson. Bryson's smart. He's smart. He's experienced. He does a great job, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now coming down the Ullman Straight through Sunset Bend. Bryson is going to put a quick and easy pass on Shane, and what's important early in the stages of the race is they get a pass done quickly because everybody is still bunched up. There aren't really large gaps to anybody. You can see the entire field on screen, so it's great if you can make a pass, but if it's a big battle that takes 3 corners, you're just letting the people behind you into the fight. So Bryson making a quick pass right there was awesome. And who here? That's Carter getting shuffled. Carter's getting shuffled to the back. Is that Paulo coming through? Yeah, Paulo came through on Carter. And let's see, is that Logan? That looks like Logan's trying to take his stab at taking Carter's position. Jack listed. Oh, wow. Jack's made his way up a ton. Holy cow. Jack started near the back of the field. He's made a pass for P6. Wow. What an amazing job from Jack. Obviously, he didn't get caught up in the lap 1 incident, so he picked up a couple of spots right there. But going from second to last, technically Michael Shumway was in last place because he started from pit lane. But, wow, Jack's making a move. George tries to make a move on Jack, and looks like he overcooked the corner just a little bit, made it easy for Jack to give him the good old once up and under. So Jack is in P6, and he is going to start trying to close that gap to Carter. Carter, again, like I was saying before, sometimes Carter finds another gear, and he looks almost unbeatable when he gets into his groove. So can Carter get into the groove before Jack Liston, who is always fast, catches him? So good stuff. A lot of excitement in the first 4.5 minutes of the main event of race 2 of season 7 of the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. We're just watching Andrew Molina right there. Very cool to see the sparks flying from underneath these cars. You can see how dark it's getting. I mean, it's full on night. It is nighttime at this race. 78 degrees right now. Track conditions look very good. Looks like there's a lot of grip around this track, but Another thing about this track is the surfaces are so variable. There's a lot of concrete, and that concrete has very big seams. Also, some of this pavement is literally from the 1950s. So it's bumpy, and it gets bumpier every single year. You know what? This racetrack is like bacon. It's sweet, but it's got a lot of bumps to it. So, I don't know. That was a bad joke. I apologize for that. So, looks like Bryson, we just watched a pass on track. Bryson just got ahead of Miller. So, Bryson is showing his pace. Now, we just put in the fastest lap as well with a 2-minute .944. So, Bryson, early stages of the race, looking very, very racy. And Miller, really nothing he could do right there but to concede that spot. And this early in the race, there's a lot of strategy playing out. It's subtle. But people have to decide whether they want to be aggressive early on and maybe use up some of their tires to gain extra positions while the field is bunched together, or do you want to sit back and play the long game and make sure that you have tires for the later stages of the stints. Now, in this sim racing league, every single person has to make a pit stop, and you have to decide whether you get just 2 tires or 4 tires. Also, fuel strategy comes into play. If you're going to make an early pit stop, you might have to be in a position where you're going to have to save some fuel later in the race or stop for longer to take on a heavier fuel load. So the pit stop strategy absolutely has a factor in the outcome of these races. Shane is currently being stalked by Paulo in the Ferrari GT3 car. It's a beautiful, beautiful Ferrari 296 GT3. Gotta love that thing. Really quick, too. That and I think the BMW M4 in a straight line are very, very quick. The M4 has a lot of power. The Ferrari is very slippery, and Paulo is going to make light work of Shane right there. Wow, that was an easy pass. Shane was smart not to defend. There's so much race left. You don't want to slow yourself down or get into an incident this early in the race. And all those drivers that were caught up in that first lap incident are going to have at least 4 or 5 incident points. I'm sure some probably have 8 or 10 or 11. And if you accrue 17 incident points, you do get a penalty. Jack Liston, diving down the inside of Carter. Oh, Jack is a man on a mission right now. Makes it look easy. And trust me, it is not easy to pass Carter, but Jack makes light work of that pass and finds himself in P5. Just 6 minutes and 50 seconds into this 45-minute race. Jack goes from last place on the grid to P5. So he is putting in an absolutely phenomenal first stint. This is really, really extraordinary racing that we're seeing from the entire field. But Jack so far is definitely the big mover. And what's interesting, though, is Jack has not put in the fastest lap. Nowhere near it. You know, he's a decent way off of the pace of Bryson Liu, but that's because he's in traffic. Bryson Liu is in a great position right now. He doesn't have anybody in front of him. There's a lot of racetrack in front of him, and all he has to do is put in fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. So this is an unbelievably strong position for Bryson Liu at this stage of the race because, you know, on raw pace, Jack and Bryson are very, very closely matched. But right now, situationally, Jack is making passes. Jack has not lap traffic, but he's making his way through the field. So his laps aren't as quick as they can be. Bryson, on the other hand, he's able to just put in fast laps. And that's it. You can see, that's Miller behind him. We'll see if Miller's maintaining that gap. It's only half a second back from Bryson to Miller. So I wonder if Miller was maybe saving his tires in the beginning stages, bringing him up to temperature in a responsible way, and it is going to be able to bring that fight to Bryson a little bit later on. There's just under 10 minutes gone in this race. We have 36 minutes and 30 seconds left, and everybody is going to have to make a pit stop. And here's another thing to think about. There is rain in the forecast. So do you go long? And not take a pit stop and maybe put up with a little bit of the pain of fuel save, of having beat up tires, and bank on it raining? So you only have to make one pit stop. Michael Shumway right now on board with him as he is all over the back of Kelly Hatcher. Michael Shumway started in pit lane and is already in the top 10, so he's having a good showing as well. But he's not going to get easy passes. You know, most of these drivers are very, very good at defending, and most of these drivers are also very smart. So, Michael can go into a battle with another driver being confident that they're not just going to punt him off the track, but at the same time, there's no free lunch in the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League. Everybody is capable of being getting the car very wide when they need to. But as I was saying before, pit strategy is going to be big, because the worst thing that can happen in a race like this is you come into the pits under green flag conditions, you get another set of sticky tires, and then it starts to rain, and you have to pit a second time. That's basically going to give you, maybe a 35, 40-second penalty over the drivers that only pit once. So we'll see how the pit strategy plays out. We'll see what the weather starts looking like. As of right now, I don't really see any indication that there is rain. The fog is lifted. Obviously it's dark out, but the visibility is about as good as it's been right now. So have to see what happens as this race rolls on. Miller behind Bryson Liu. We're in car right now with Miller. Miller is trying to stalk Bryson Liu. Bryson gets good drive out of that corner. Miller is not going to get the advantage of the slipstream as they go down the start-finish straightaway and down into turn one. The long, fast left-hand turn that leads to another short straightaway, but Sebring International Raceway is one of the places where there are passing opportunities almost everywhere. It's an incredibly wide track, and the track was made a lot wider actually in the 1960s because there were a number of incidents, and there was a particular race. I can't remember if it was, I don't know if there was an endurance race in the 60s where there were a number of fatalities in that race. So they knew they had to do something, and what they decided to do was make the track incredibly wide, and that's been a feature of a lot of this track ever since. So there are passing opportunities if you can find them. So this is really, really good stuff. So Sebring International Raceway, I think it was actually the first Formula One race that was ever hosted in the United States, and unfortunately, basically no one showed up. So the next year they went over to California and raced over at Riverside. But Sebring has such a long history in American motorsports. I mean, IMSA races here. They have the 12 Hours of Sebring, Porsche Carrera Cup, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, MX-5 Cup, which, that's MX-5. Anyone that knows me knows exactly how excited I get when I start talking about MX-5 racing, because it's just spicy for the entire time, kind of like what we're seeing shape up right here with Bryson and Miller. Miller is stalking Bryson. Bryson's fast enough where he'll pull away on you. If you're not incredibly quick and you're not on it every single lap, Bryson will pull a gap. Bryson's the type of guy that he doesn't have slow laps. It's almost like he does qualifying lap after qualifying lap, after qualifying lap, regardless of the situation. He just likes to go fast, which I understand. He's a racing driver. Racing drivers like to go fast. And here we are. Bryson going down into turn one. Miller chasing. Close battle between Shane and George. George diving to the inside. No, Shane's going to go the long way around side. Keep a lot of momentum up. George gives him tons of room. Incredibly respectful driving from George. That's going to give Shane the inside line for the right-hander, and then George the inside line for the left-hander. And George is going to get the pass done on Shane. So cool watching the throwback flying lizard race against the AO Motorsports Rexy on board with Shane. Shane is behind George. Is Shane going to be able to answer back? Oh, yes he is! Diving down the inside. Is he going to get the pass done? No, he's not. Oh, that was aggressive. Oh, I love it. I love it. Controlled aggression. That is what we're seeing on track. These guys aren't making this into a demolition derby. Having a lot of fun, getting really, really spicy. There's about, 31 minutes and 36 seconds left in this race. We're almost at the 1/3 mark. This is the spot where normally you could potentially start seeing people making pit stops. I don't know that that's going to happen because, again, with rain in the forecast, it would be silly to make a pit stop at this point in the race if you know you're going to have to pit later for wet tires. So I'm going to guess that a lot of these drivers are going to go long on the first stint, which means tire wear is going to be important, as is potentially fuel saving. These cars, they don't start with enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. So if you're going to go long, you you are going to have to start saving fuel. You're going to have a little bit of lift and coast in your driving style. You're going to have to hopefully get a little bit of aerodynamic help, so you don't have to use full throttle all the time. You can get a little bit of a tug there from the car in front. So on board right now with Andrew Malin. Andrew Malin is chasing down Carter in that beautiful Dad Racing Lamborghini. You should check out the Dad Racing YouTube channel, by the way. It's awesome. They just dropped a video about what they do and what it's all about, and it's really cool stuff. Just it's fun. I mean, everything about racing should be fun. It's one of the most beautiful sports, in my opinion, for that reason. It's pure, even though it's very complicated. You have these incredibly complex machine, and every race series has its own rules, and every track has its own subtleties. But at the end of the day, it's really simple. Go fast. That's it. And it's fun to go fast, and that's what these guys are doing right now. And it's what a lot of these drivers really embody in real life, as well as in sim racing. So again, a lot of these people are involved in the Riot Motorsport racing team that's out at the Utah Motorsports campus. Bryson Liu, that we're on board with right now, is one of the coaches. And Bryson, for people that don't know, you should Google him. He's the Super Trofeo champion. He's an unbelievably fast driver, and he's also just a young, motivated kid. Wow, you can see him coming over the curb there, getting a touch of oversteer, a little bit of a snap. He's on the limit. He is on the limit right now. He doesn't necessarily have to be. He's got a 6-second lead. I'm sorry, a 0.6 of a second lead over Miller. He's got a little bit of breathing room, but he's still on it. He is pushing so hard. What a good race so far. We're starting to see the gaps normalize a little bit, which is good. I get a little bit of a breather here. And just as I say that, Carter is going to take a dive down the inside on Shane. And let's see what happens. Where are they on track? Oh, they're going down the Ullman Straight. So Carter's got a lot of time to make this pass done. He's going to have the inside line. Shane is going to run wide, try to keep his momentum up, maybe try a switch back. Nope. Not going to be able to do it. Carter gets the pass done at the beginning of turn one, and now Shane is under attack from Andrew Malin. Is Andrew going to try to make a move on Shane? I've been really surprised that, it's a testament to how quick the entire field is and how closely they're all matched, that starting in the reverse order hasn't really seen the fast drivers blitz through the field. I mean, Jack has. He's up in P4. But, it's taken him a third of the race to make any headway, and he got a major advantage of that first lap incident that he was able to avoid. So, we're seeing a really, really fun race with the reverse grid. I love it. It's such a fun concept. It just adds another layer. And, I mean, the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League is so much fun. These drivers are so talented, and they're respectful of one another. It's just a great time. It's so much fun for me to watch, and I really can't appreciate Riot Motorsport enough for putting this together. It's good racing amongst good people, and that's what you want to see. On board right now with Andrew Malin. Andrew Malin is behind Shane Wilcox and is going to try to make pass. Let's see. He's going to have a braking opportunity coming up here. Is he going to be able to gain any ground on Shane under brakes? Yes, he is. Shane gets a good exit, though. Uh-oh. Oh, it's starting to rain. Oh, no. Oh, it's starting to rain, and it's coming down hard. That came out of nowhere. Oh, and no one had made their pit stop yet. Oh, okay. So, rain is starting to fall with 26 minutes and 50 seconds left in the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. And you can start to see rain spitting up from the tires. Everyone right now is on slicks, and that means people are going to start diving for the pits. Who's in the pits already? That looks like Bryson's in the pits. Paul was in the pits. Jack's in the pits. Mike Shumway is making a pit stop. Alex Faust is in the pits. So these people, they timed it well. They don't have to sit out on track and just be on the struggle bus for, 3/4 of a lap. Oh, wow. And there are drivers that are going past pit lane. So there are drivers that are choosing to stay out on track in the as the rain starts to fall. So that's going to go one of two ways. Wow. So this is going to go one of two ways. Absolutely. The drivers that decided to stay out, which is a top 4 right now, as well as Mike, as well as Logan, they're either going to get it really, really right and be able to pull a massive gap on the rest of the field because their slick tires are still going to have grip and they're still going to be up to temperature, or they're going to get it really, really wrong, and you're going to start seeing them slipping and sliding all over the track. Because I'll tell you, I know this from experience. When you're on slicks and it starts to get wet, you feel all right for a hot second, and then the grip just goes off a cliff. It's like a light switch. It's like 1 minute you're on a basketball court in good shoes, and the next minute you're just on the ice, and that's it. And on the ice in an earthquake. I mean, that's what it feels like, honestly. When you're on slicks in the wet and it turns that corner where you lose that grip, it is absolutely treacherous. It's terrifying. It's one of the most frustrating things that you can experience in a racing car, because the only option, the only way to stay on track is to go painfully slow. However, looking at Miller right now, it doesn't look like he's losing that much pace. So the grip is holding up right now. You can see that the rain is falling, but that asphalt, the racing surface, does absorb a lot of that rain. Miller's pulling into the pits right now. He's calling it quits. 1 lap in the wet was enough. He looked incredibly planted, to be completely honest. This might work out very well for that lead group that just went into the pits. We'll have to see when they come out, what kind of gap. I mean, Miller was in P2, and he was fairly close to Bryson. So we'll be able to see when Miller comes out if he was able to build up a gap or whether he lost out to the drivers that pulled into the pits early. Looks like every other driver is pulling into the pits. Is Mike staying out? Let's see. Mike Cowley, he is coming around the last corner. Is he going to dive? Yes, he's going to dive into the pits. And then I'd imagine Logan will right after. You can see the rain starting to pick up. You can see the spray kicking up behind the wheels. So it is getting wet. You know, the track does absorb a decent amount of water, but there's only so much it can absorb. And kind of ironically, the quickest part around the track, the racing line, gets rubbered in. And in the dry, that makes it really sticky. But in the wet, that waterproofs the racetrack, which means it doesn't absorb any water. So the slowest place and the worst place you can possibly be in the rain is exactly where you want to be in the dry. And Paolo, he's got his handfuls right now, but he's looking really good. The visibility is starting to go away, but it's not horrible. I'm sure if it starts to rain a lot, we're going to see drivers basically driving in whiteout conditions, and I have no idea how that happens. It's like having a sixth sense when you're driving in the rain in these low visibility conditions. Not that bad yet. You can see Bryson getting a little snap oversteer right there. You know, their hands are very busy in the car right now. There's no way to put in a fast lap without being on the wheel, without really being on the edge in the rain. In the rain, you know, it's kind of, you know, there's a divide between people that are quick in the rain and people that are not. I don't know what it is, but some people just understand how to find grip in the rain. Ooh, driver off in the background. Is that Paulo off in the background? It's like Paulo is off track. Let's go back here. Yep. Let's see what happened to Paulo. Did he just lose a little snap of oversteer? No. Pretty clean through there. Yep, there it is. Snap oversteer. Tries to correct it. Does a good job staying the right way. Stays out of the wall. Didn't lose that much time, which is good. But we're going to start seeing a lot more of that. So, wow. And looking back now, let's go back to the leader. Miller is in the lead. And Miller has a 4-second gap on Bryson. So the right decision in this situation was to stay out for that extra lap. Miller, when he was out on the racetrack in racing slicks, as the track was incrementally getting wetter, was able to maintain a high enough grip level where he leapfrogged Bryson for the lead and has pulled now a 5-second gap. So Miller's in an amazing position. He played the strategy right. All those 4 drivers that stayed out for that last for that lap under the wet on the slicks are all going to see a benefit. So great stuff for those drivers. Good strategy move. This is what I love about racing. This is what I love about racing in the rain. You know, these variable conditions just add more and more variables, and every single variable, for the most part, makes racing more fun to watch. Look at the spray is starting to spit up even more, and that's only going to get worse. The rain is coming down worse and worse. If we start getting puddles on this track, which does happen, it absolutely happens at Sebring International Raceway. Puddles will develop on the racetrack, and then these cars can start hydroplaning. It makes it harder to drive off the line. It makes it harder to find grip. So this race is just going to get more and more complicated in the final 20 minutes and 45 seconds of Race 2 of Season 7 of the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League at Sebring International Raceway. We're racing in the dark. We are on board with George, who's all the way up to P4. He's having himself a good race. He looks really hooked up. He looks really good right now. As I was saying before, some drivers are just fast in the rain. They get it. And George looks like he might be one of those drivers. George is, let's see, where is he on track right now? Going through Cunningham down into turn 11 and towards the tower. And he looks like he's, for the most part, just taking the traditional racing line and making it work. Really making it work. We'll see what kind of inroads he can make to Paulo, see if he can get into the podium positions. He's currently about a second and a half back from Paulo, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And up front, Miller, still in the lead. The lead was 5 seconds, and it's already down to 2.3. So Bryson, who again, Bryson is 10 tenths basically all the time in a race car. He's on it right now, and he's making inroads to Miller. So this is shaping up to be an excellent, excellent battle. More than halfway through this race, 19 minutes and 30 seconds left, and it just started raining a couple of laps ago, and that kind of turned things on its head. A few drivers stayed out. Miller definitely was the big beneficiary amongst them. He elected to stay out on slick tires when it started racing for just one more lap, and that allowed him to leapfrog Bryson Miller to make his way into the lead. And we are going... safety car's out. Safety car's coming out. We're going to go full course yellow. Safety car is making its way out and is going to catch... Well, I don't know why it didn't catch Miller. It didn't catch the leader. Ooh! Oh, no! Oh, what happened in the back of the field? What is going on? The safety car caught the P2 driver. Let's go back here. So safety car is coming out of pit lane for the full course caution and is off the racing line. Lets Miller through. Lets Bryson through. And, oh, no. Oh, catches Paulo out. Oh, no. Paulo catches a safety car. Was surprised by, ooh. Oh, and someone just barely missed him right there. Oh, that's really, really unfortunate. And I don't know in iRacing and in this league if Paulo will be able to get back up into the positions that he was in when the safety car was out and the full course yellow happened, or if he just has to sit back where he was. But that's really, really weird. That's not something you see every day. That's definitely going to throw a wrench in Paulo's race. He's down in P8. I think he was in P4 when that happened. So safety car currently has Bryson Liu, which that doesn't make a lot of sense because Miller is leading the race, and is he going to have to make his way all the way around? But if he does, that'll put him one lap ahead of the rest of the field. And you can see the marching ants on screen that Miller is, 3-4 turns ahead of the safety car, and it doesn't look like he's checking up. This is a really strange situation. The full course yellow is something that is a possibility in the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League, and when it happens, you don't know when it's going to happen. It's not necessarily a planned thing. There, obviously someone knows, but they do it to simulate real life racing. We try to make this as realistic as possible. You never know when a full course yellow is going to happen. With no damage, and even when there is damage, you don't really get full course yellows in iRacing because you can just push a button, reset your car, go back to pit lane. You don't have to wait for a car, the safety team to come out and check on you. You don't have to wait for the recovery team to come out and hook your car up to a crane or anything like that. So to make it more realistic, the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League introduces random full course yellows. Doesn't happen in every race. Doesn't happen at any particular time. And always there's going to be some of the benefits and some of that doesn't. And Miller's come to a crawl on the Ullman straight. I have no idea what's going to happen right now. The safety car picked up the wrong car. I don't know how that happens. That's such a strange thing to happen. And that's something that in real life, it's an easy mistake to make, particularly when so many cars have the same liveries and everyone's spread out on track because we haven't had a caution flag for the first 30 minutes of the race. But it's rare for that to happen in iRacing. So this race has gotten even more realistic, and the safety car driver has made a mistake. On board right now, looking at that entire field start to bunch up as they head down Ullman Straight. And yep, there's Miller. So Miller is hanging back. I wonder if the pace car is going to pass him. That's what should happen. And that will keep everyone on the same lap. And that will keep... Yep, okay. So the pace car just passed Miller. Pace car picked up the wrong driver coming out of pit lane when there was a full course yellow. And Miller has waited for everyone on the Ullman Straight. He is now back behind the safety car as they come around the final corner before the start-finish line. So safety car is not going to pull in. We're going to go for another safety car lap. So anyone that had fuel concerns is going to be able to be saving fuel under the full course yellow. We're going to get at least two laps under the safety car. Andrew Malin's coming in. Why is he coming into pit lane? He's going to have to go all the way back to the field. He must... I wonder if he had slicks. Yeah, yep. So Andrew, when he made his pit stop, went from slick tires to slick tires. So he was on the struggle bus while it was raining. He had to come in under the full course yellow. And now he's going to be putting rain tires on, which will allow him to be competitive and finally be on pace of the drivers. It is absolutely a wet weather race. There's no question about that. The crossover has happened. If you're on slicks, you are a sitting duck. You are absolutely going to be hating your life. Whoa! Oh, Andrew! Save it, Andrew! Save it, Andrew! Oh, no! Coming out of pit lane. Oh, rough start for Andrew. Oh, so now Andrew is significantly behind the pace car. And let's see, who's in 10th place? Oh, that is Andrew. So he's way behind the pace car. Where's car number 11? Wait, why is Jack and Alex... Why are they so far back? So the whole field is bunched up, and then you have Andrew, who had to run into the pits. But what I'm seeing on screen is that Jack Liston was having a great race, is way in the back of the field, as is Alex. I wonder if they were also on slick tires, and they just pitted off camera, and we weren't able to see it. So, you do have to decide when you come into the pits in iRacing whether you want slicks or rain tires. It's an easy button to miss. So what I think potentially happened is a few of the drivers accidentally went from slicks to slicks when it started raining, which is less than optimal. So they're going to have to try their hardest to make their way through the field now with 13 minutes left. Those guys are going to have a sprint race on their hands. We're basically at less than sprint race distance. There's 13 minutes left in the race. There'll probably be, I don't know, 12 minutes if they come in this lap. Maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, probably more. It'll probably be, if I had to guess, 11 and a half minutes left to race if the pace car comes in this lap. So it's going to be an amazing shootout if the entire field can bunch back up. We obviously have the first 10 drivers, or the first 9 drivers, all bunched up. So when it goes green, I think we can expect a fair amount of mayhem. These drivers are great. They're all very respectful. They're all incredibly talented. But there's a lot of variables right now. It is very, very hard to get it right in the rain. That's not something that happens all the time. And like I was saying before, there's parts of the track that are coated in rubber that are now going to be absolutely the slickest part of the racetrack. And then there are other parts that normally are full of marbles and the slowest part around. Those might actually have a lot of grip right now. If that part of the track is absorbing a lot of water, and the rain tire are going to have a lot of surface to grip onto. There's a thin layer of water in between race surface tires, and you're not going to be able to get a lot done. So we are just under 12 minutes left to go in this race. What's Jack doing? Jack is going slow. He just allowed Andrew Lynn to So I'm not sure. Andrew might have had Jack. Jack might have just been giving the spot back. One thing we don't have access to is what the spotters in car are telling them, and sometimes they'll say, you have to give a spot back or anything like that. So that might be what's happening right now. And Andrew hangs around the outside. He's going to be testing different parts of the track. That's one thing that you can do under a caution flag, and it's what you should be doing is, oh no, is Andrew in the pits? Andrew just pulled into the pits again. Oh no, Andrew went slicks to slicks to slicks. And now hopefully a rain tire, so that's definitely not the way that you want to have a race play out in the rain. Oh, that's unfortunate because Andrew's a quick driver, and I think it may rob us from one of my favorite parts of a Riot Motorsports Sim Racing race, which is Andrew Malin and Michael Shumway inevitably finding themselves coming together and dicing it out at some point in the race. So Andrew Malin down in P10 and Michael Shumway up in P5. We might not. This might be the first race in the history of the Riot Motorsports Sim Racing League where Andrew Malin and Michael Shumway don't have a proper gloves-off Donnybrook. But we'll see what happens. There's still 10 minutes left in the race. And again, anything can happen on a race restart in the best conditions. But we have less than the best conditions right now. It is raining. The visibility is going to be awful. It's at night. So when you're driving in the rain at night, the headlights just illuminate the entire cloud of spray, and it makes it even worse than in the daytime. So in front of you, you almost look like you're in purgatory. There's just nothing around you. There's nothingness but a glowing grayness. So that's what everyone in the field is going to look like. That's what they're going to see other than Bryson on the restart. So, okay, cool. The lights are off on the safety car, which means they are going to be pulling in this lap, and we're going to have about 9. Still half a lap left. So there's going to be an incredibly dicey sprint race at the end of this race. People are not going to have. They're going to have a couple of laps to make all of their passes and try to get it done and try to gobble up as many points as they can. Again, first place is 70 points, and it pays points all the way down to, what would that be? Does everybody make points? I think everybody gets points, right? Yeah, so top 10 are going to get points. So, you want to make sure that you obviously maximize your points. And something I just realized is Miller's out of the race. Miller was in the lead. Miller had like a 5-second lead over Bryson before the safety car, and now he's not even showing on screen. Shane as well. Oh no. Oh, what an error. I don't know if they're out of the race completely. So they either had a racing incident, which I think is incredibly unlikely, or they're having some sort of connectivity issue, which is so unfortunate. Oh, what a heartbreaker for Shane and for Miller. Oh, no, Miller's back in. Miller's showing in P11 right now. What is going on? He's in pit lane. He was doing so well. He was on rain tires. Oh, but we are going green. Oh, green flag racing. Bryson in the lead gets a great jump, and Miller is in pit lane. Oh, what a bummer. But everybody else is having tons of opportunities right here to make passes. Look at the lead that Bryson have. That's incredibly impressive. Going into the first corner, this is where there was a big incident in the first start of the race, and everybody looks to have made it through right now. We're too wide going through, let's see, turns 3, 4, 5, down into the West Bend. And so far, everyone's been very well behaved. This is not the restart that I expected. I expected people to be all over the racetrack, but that's not what we're getting. We're just getting good, clean racing. Everybody nose to tail going through, let's see, towards the hairpin. There are passing opportunities going into the hairpin. We'll see if anyone is going to be able to make a lunge down the inside. Oh, Paulo takes a look down on Bryson. Nothing doing there. George is looking racy. George, Paulo gets a little bit of snap oversteer going over the curb. That's going to let George through. George is going to make a pass on Paulo for P2 with 6 minutes and 45 seconds left in the first lap of the restart. Good stuff from Paulo. And like we were saying earlier, Paulo looks very, very hooked up on the rain. He might not be the fastest driver. I'm sorry, not George, Paulo. George. George is incredibly fast in the rain, but he just looks more dialed in. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on his lap times, but he doesn't really seem to make mistakes in the rain. He's making inroads on Bryson. This might be Paulo's race. Bryson's super quick. We know what you get with Bryson. You know how quick he is. But George is he's finding another gear right now. This is awesome stuff. George and Bryson are pulling away from Paulo. They've got about a 0.7 of a second gap, multiple car lengths. So this might be a battle for first place with 5 minutes and 50 seconds left in the race. We just had a restart, couple laps under full course yellow, and then rain started falling about 24 minutes, can't remember, about so into the race. So it's been a lot happening right now. Some people have gotten tire choices wrong. Tragically, Miller had some sort of, I think, connectivity issue under full course yellow. He dropped to the back of the pack, dropped out of the race, and now he's running in last place. And who's that? Kelly and Andrew, they're having a race. Oh, Andrew. Kelly goes defensive. Andrew's going to go the long way around the outside. He's going to get the pass done even before turn 1. So Andrew's marching his way up the field towards none other than Michael Shumway. So Jack Liston is in between Michael Shumway and Andrew Malin. Those two drivers always seem to find themselves next to each other in the closing stages of the race. And right now, we're in the closing stages of the race, and they just might find themselves having another battle in the closing stages of this race at Sebring International. George is all over Bryson. George is on it right now. Look at how much more hooked up his car looks than Bryson's. Bryson is on the limit, and Bryson is so fast in the wet. But for some reason, George, you can see George takes a wide line right there. He's taking more of a karting line, trying to stay in the grippier parts of track. So he's oh no! Oh, Bryson's off! Oh, Bryson goes off. Oh, going into Cunningham. Bryson overcooks the braking zone. No. Oh, here's the replay right here. What happened? I can't tell if there's a lockup or not, or if he just gets the braking markers wrong. Oh, yep. Just has to go straight and has to concede P1 to George, and he joins. How many cars? Ooh, gets a snap there. Oh, boy. All right, he almost gets collected. Oh, he almost takes out half the field, but everyone's able to make it around him. So Bryson's going to be back in P7. Oh, heartbreak hotel for Bryson Liu, heartbreak hotel for Miller, and George is on it right now. Look at how dialed he looks. He's very, very fast in the rain, and he's smart. He's doing an unbelievable job. You can see some corners he's on the traditional racing line. Other corners he's compromising the racing line to find more grip. It's commonly called the karting racing line, where you sort of stay around the outside of the corner. You don't make a traditional turn in and a traditional apex. You just stay wide and you keep your momentum up as high as you can. And that's a strategy in the rain that that George is using to great effect right now. Paulo has promoted to P2. Paulo's wicked fast as well. And then Carter in P3. There's 1.5 seconds separating the entire podium. Paulo 0.7 behind George. Is he going to be able to get it done? He's in the slipstream, but he also means he probably can't see anything right now, which makes it very hard to find your braking points, very hard to find your references on track. So following someone in the wet is no fun. But now Paulo's doing it, and he's doing it very well. Got a 0.4 of a second gap. There's a good view right there from behind Michael Shumway's car of Jack Liston. You can see how much spray is getting thrown up. You can't really see anything other than 2 headlights. And what's interesting, too, is when you're looking behind you in one of these race cars, and there are multiple cars behind you, you don't know whose headlights is who. You don't know where the people are. You just see a mess of bulbs that are sort of moving left and right, but you don't know who to defend from. You don't know how far away they are. It's very, very complicated to defend in the wet. Michael Shumway right here is currently defending Jack Liston. We'll see if Jack can do anything to get around Michael Shumway. Let's see the gap right now. It's about a 0.6 of a second I mean, that's striking distance, particularly in the rain. There's 2 minutes left in this race. So they're just going to get another couple of laps. We might see the white flag the next time by. If not, it'll be the lap after that. Carter currently in P3. We'll go on board with Carter. You can see the visibility is pretty awful. It's so hard to find your braking points. It's so hard to find your references. Woo! Little snap right there from Carter. Great car control from him to keep it in order and to keep it moving in a forward direction and doing so quickly. Michael Shumway, P4. He's having a good result. He started in pit lane. He's clawed his way back up to P4. This is a very, very good race for Michael. He's doing well. You know, anytime you can pass that many talented drivers. Well, as I say that, Jack Liston makes his way through on Michael. Still a great race for him. But Jack is, you know, we know how fast he is. He won the sprint race. He qualified on pole position. So no question there that he is going to be able to march his way up through the field. It's just a matter of how far he is able to do it. So on board with George. George is in P1. George has clear skies in front of him. He's got a clear view. No one's throwing up spray. He comes around the last corner towards the start-finish line and takes the white flag. There is 1 lap left in this race, and George has a 0.7 of a second lead over Paulo. Paulo is hanging with him, but it doesn't look like he's really making any inroads. Carter as well is about a second behind George. It looks... We'll have to see what happens. Every single corner is an opportunity to make a mistake or to get something done in the rain. Things can change and happen so quickly when you're in adverse conditions. Right there. Oh, Paulo looked like he was making some inroads. Got a little bit of snap right there. So many drivers are on the limit right now. But George is in control. George just has to defend Paulo for another 2/3 of a lap, and he is going to claim his first victory of Season 7 of the Riot Sim Racing League. This has been such an exciting race. There's been so much happening. The clock clicks down to 0, and we have the final lap happening right now. There is a battle for first position. George in P1, Paulo in P2. Can Paulo do anything? 2 different manufacturers, 2 different racing drivers that are taking a lot of times different racing lines. And one of my favorite things of the Riot Sim Racing League, Andrew Malin, and oh no! Oh, Carter goes off. Carter crashes out of P3. Let's go back and see what happened there. Did he get any help from anyone? Did he get unsettled on the curbs? Let's see. Yep. Looks like he caught a little bit too much curb, and that unsettled the car. And it was a slow spin, but that is going to drop him down into the order. And that means Jack Liston is in P3, and Andrew Malin and Michael Shumway are going to battle it out for P4. Awful visibility right there, as we can see. Oh, Andrew Malin hanging it around the outside on Michael Shumway. That was going through Tower, turn 13, and makes the pass. Andrew Malin, last lap pass on Michael Shumway. Oh, these two always end up having battles in the closing stages of the race, and today is no exception. Andrew Malin makes a pass on Michael Shumway under the brakes going into turn 13. They're heading down towards the the penultimate series of corners. They're going to head down Ullman Straight, and right now we are watching... Ooh, Paulo. Paulo tries to make a move on George. George just has too much pace. And Paulo's going to stick his nose down the inside again, going into the last corner. George hangs it around the outside, has tons of grip, gets a great exit, is going to chop in front of Paulo, and is going to take his first victory of the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League Season 7 in the rain at Sebring. That was an awesome drive for George. How many different leaders how many people during this race did we have that looked like they were so much in control? Bryson Liu looked like he was going to win the race. Then it was Miller. Then it was George. And this is just fascinating stuff. As we come across the line now, Alex Faust, last driver on track. He's coming through the final corner. Down the start-finish line, he had a rough race. He was caught up in that first lap incident. He's also, I think, one of the drivers that accidentally pitted for wanted rain tires and ended up back on slicks and had to make another stop. So, really, really tough race for some of the drivers that lost out either because of connectivity issues or changing to the wrong tires. But huge congratulations to George winning this main event at Sebring Raceway. Congratulations to George. Paulo, P2. Jack, P3. That was a great showing for his efforts. P4, Andrew. 5th, Michael Shumway. 6th, Bryson Liu. That's a decent recovery drive considering he was down in P8 with 1 lap to go. Carter in P7. Kelly, P8. Logan, P9. Michael, rounding out the top 10. And then Miller. So sorry, Miller. Oh, such a bummer. He was in the lead. Ended up dropping down into P11. Alex, same thing, had to pit multiple times. Shane in P13. And that does it for the second race of the 7th season of the Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. Thank you all very much for listening along. Thank you, Riot Motorsport, for doing this. Make sure you check out the race next week at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all. We will see you next time.
Welcome to Riot Motorsport Sim Racing League. We are located at the Utah Motorsport campus, offering a full range of services for race car enthusiasts, including storage, maintenance, and driver coaching. Our focus is on fostering an inclusive and supportive racing community. Sim racing is a great way for our drivers to continue to practice during the on and off season. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the race.